I have three pieces in the exhibition: a painting titled Disappointed, a photograph titled Depression, and a small resin figurine, which is the subject of the photograph. And I normally just exhibit my paintings. However, for this exhibition, I wanted to showcase the photograph and the resin figurine alongside the painting because it gives viewers who are unfamiliar with my work a chance to kind of see my process. My process starts with a treasure hunt for figurines and dollhouses and miniatures and dolls. When I'm in thrift stores and antique stores, wherever searching, I try to be pretty open-minded about what I might find. But it's usually the facial expression. I pick up the figurine, go straight to the face, and I'm looking for whatever about that facial expression sparks my imagination and makes me curious. And that was the case with Disappointed, the painting. That facial expression with that object, I was so easily able to anthropomorphize it and empathize it, project myself onto it, that I knew that I wanted to make a painting of it. So when I'm bringing the figurines into my studio space, I'm thinking about, what do I need to do in order to help someone else see that unique thing about the object that inspired me to bring it into the studio. I've loved the Toys and Miniatures Museum since I first visited in February of 2020, before I even moved to Kansas City. I just think it's such a unique and fun, spectacular museum. Whenever I have family and friends in town, I always bring them, and every visit is like people find something that is so exciting and unique that they didn't expect. And I always find things that I didn't see the first time. So I really love that the museum is focusing on contemporary art and artists. I think it's a great way to bring in the Kansas City art community, people who maybe haven't been to the museum before or haven't been in a long time. I think it's a great way for them to see what an inspiration a museum can be for artists, and hopefully they keep coming back. So I'm really excited to be part of the exhibition. Yeah, so the first time that I used miniatures as part of my practice was about 9 years ago when I was a graduate student at the University of Colorado in Boulder. I was thinking about my grandmother, who's the reason why I started using figurines in the first place. She collected them, and she had dementia for 11 years. My mom and I took care of her during that time. And so after she passed away, I was thinking a lot about time and memory and the connection between the mind, the body, the home. And I wanted to make a painting of her living room. I was using family snapshots and my memory to do so. I just couldn't get the lighting and the composition that I wanted. And so my solution was to build a version of my grandmother's living room inside of a dollhouse, and then use that as the still life to make the painting. And that worked, So it gave me the amount of detail that I was looking for, the control over the lighting and the composition. But it also felt conceptually like the right choice, because at that time, I was thinking a lot about my matriarchal lineage and about, generational trauma and healing and legacy. And the dollhouse is this object loaded with gender association. Silence, stillness, boredom, and meditation are all important parts of my studio practice. When I am starting a new series, I walk into the studio, no music, and just kind of putter around the studio, allowing myself to get a little bit bored enough to spark ideas and spark creativity. And I have all of my figurines out on display, so then I can pick them up and start handling them and thinking about all the different possibilities of how I might want to use them. I mean, the figurines definitely are a source of inspiration for me, but also, stories from my family and friends, from my own past. I'm inspired by literature, particularly like feminist literature or Southern Gothic literature. I love horror films. I'm inspired too by art history and by other contemporary artists. I do have some. When I walk into the studio at the beginning of a session, I tend to do like some writing or some journaling just to kind of clear my mind and think about what my goals are for that session. And then there are routines that are like kind of built already into my practice, particularly with painting, like mixing all of the colors that I'm going to use, like the paint that I'm going to use for that session, is very like monotonous, as well as like washing brushes at the end of a session. And those activities free my mind up to think, like while my hands are busy, my mind can be thinking about like, what am I about to do in this painting session? Or how did that session go? What do I need to do the next time? I mean, the figurines, the objects, the found objects are the starting point, but then there's also photography and camera. There's the sculpture practice with resin, there's paint. I would say the newest additions to my tools would be my resin casting equipment, since that's a newer process for me. So now I have a vacuum degasser and a pressure pot and an air compressor and all these things, which have been a lot of fun to learn. I've been painting with oils since I was 16 years old. And over the course of my life, I've worked in lots of different materials, and I love working in different materials, but I keep coming back to painting consistently over time because it's always been a medium that I felt very comfortable and confident expressing my ideas in. When I was in college and undergrad, I was really interested in the combination of realism and abstraction, but particularly like an abstract background with like a realistic figure in front, or abstract elements like overlapping a realistically painted figure, or a realistic figure that like dissolved into abstraction. So now I'm interested in realism and abstraction, but in a different way, particularly working with these glass and resin figures. The way that the light is reflected off of them, it's like light off of cut glass. It creates all of these small little shapes and moments that are like a miniature abstract painting that exists within this larger realistic painting. So I'm trying to really embrace that and allow myself to be a lot looser and embrace these abstract moments that happen within a larger realistic painting. And I think that my younger, like college self would really like that. I've always been an artist. Like a lot of kids, I was drawing all the time as a child. I think what's unique about my childhood is that I've always had an art studio. Like even as a child, I had an art studio. The finished attic of my parents' home was mine. No, my brothers were not allowed up there. It was low ceilings, almost kind of like a life-size dollhouse with like small sink and toilet. And these two rooms were connected by a long hallway. One was my bedroom, one was my art studio, and I could go back and forth in complete privacy and freedom all day between the two rooms. And so I've always had that space for my creative outlet. Growing up, I did lots of painting and drawing, but I also did jewelry making, and my mom taught me to use her sewing machine. And so I made my own dolls, my own rag dolls and all their clothes growing up. My parents were very supportive of my creative endeavors, and so they put me in after school, small group, private art classes. And I stayed with the same teacher for 10 years. It was like 2 days a week. I was at her home making art. And so I knew in high school that I wanted to have a career in the arts. So I enrolled at Auburn University in my home state of Alabama and did the B.F.A. program. when I graduated, I took a year off and like built up my portfolio, applied to graduate school, and went to the University of Colorado in Boulder, where I graduated with an M.F.A. in painting and drawing in 2016. After I graduated, I spent a lot of time like moving across the country in different places, traveling a lot, which I think was great because it helped me figure out what I want from a city, from an art community, what I want out of my career. And so now I think being here in Kansas City, I am really enjoying the stability that I have in the art community and feel really supported and excited about the work. So conceptually, I've used my own personal experience and the stories of my family and friends as the content for my work for a long time. But in graduate school, that really intensified. I had peers and mentors that were asking me a lot of hard questions. I was asking myself a lot of hard questions. And it led to this period of self-investigation, self-knowledge, a lot of personal growth and development in figuring out, what do I really care about? What am I excited about in terms of making my work? And especially like, what are the conversations that I want to have? And I learned that I'm interested in having feminist conversations about empathy and vulnerability as a catalyst for societal change. I'm interested in conversations about psychology and mental illness and generational trauma and healing and gender roles and domesticity and how that's changed over time and how it's continuing to change, and ideas about evocative objects that tether us to reality and are catalysts for narrative and storytelling that can be objects for healing, objects to think with. So once I realized that I wanted my work to be a way to spark those kinds of conversations, that's really when the work started to change and develop and feel a lot more like my work. Aesthetically and technically, I would say that using found objects, setting them up in these theatrical still life scenes, and then using that to make paintings from really helped me be able to have the level of detail and control that I really wanted. And that pushed the work forward.